Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. How are you this evening?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you for allowing me up. I really appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
Um,
Andrew,
yeah,
Andrew,
go ahead.
you have a stunning voice. Holy smokes.
Really?
Can we get some W's in the chat for Andrew's voice? I know it's not just me. That
My
is
my
holy
my dream
smokes.
one day is to become a YouTuber and have over 100 live viewers like I see you have right now.
Yeah, no, listen, first of all, I think it's super easy, right? You can do it, but no, like, I'll just say, just genuine people like you, they hang out. That's all. We're just hanging out. That's it. Everybody's just hanging out.
Well, awesome, man. Well, thank you for allowing me up, and I'd like to kind of get into some of these topics with you and have a respectful conversation. If I
Absolutely.
if I interject as we're kind of going back and forth, please don't take offense. It's probably just me
Absolutely.
trying to get to the point. If I'm doing it too much, just tell me to shut up. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
so
no, no, no.
so diving into this, when you say MAGA's over because Trump lied about all of these things, to be
hmm
specific, when you're saying, for instance, pro-life, what do you mean when you're claiming he lied about being pro-life? I mean, his judges most certainly passed I mean, probably the finest abortion reform that we've ever seen, kicking it back to the states. This is something that Republicans wanted in the worst way, and he definitely
hmm
made that happen.
Yeah, yeah, no. So what I'll say, and the one thing that I'll say is, please remember TikTok
Oh
etiquette
yeah,
or
yeah. I'm
whatever.
really sorry.
So
What
we'll
what
say
word should I use?
AB. No worries. You're just AB.
Okay, yeah,
AB.
yeah. No problem. I'm really sorry
Um,
about that, man.
No, no, you're fine, my friend. The reason why I say that it's more so it's centered around. It's not about the judges because you're absolutely right. But I don't put the judges and getting Roe overturned. That wasn't. Trump likes to take credit for it, but that was the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation worked on that for 50 years. They formulated the plan. They executed the plan. They got the right person that actually was able to fulfill the plan. Donald Trump has gone back and forth multiple times as far as what he actually believes. Now, you can even talk about it, and I don't necessarily want to go into the allegations of him paying for certain, ABs or whatever,
Hmm.
but he is very much depending on what's important to him. Just like how he came out and said, "Oh, I'm going to vote against the 6 week ban for, AB in Florida." And then he got a call from, the Heritage Foundation, from a lot of those groups, and they said, "Hey, can you clarify this because we need to make sure that you're still on board with being pro-life?" And then he immediately turned around and was like, "Oh, actually, I am pro-life and I'm not going to vote for this." And then you have JD Vance, who doesn't say anything without getting the green light from Trump, coming out and saying that if a AB ban came across Trump's desk,
He
he
would
would
veto
veto
it.
it.
Yeah, I
And
saw that
then
he said he would veto it, but
yeah,
to kind of cut in just briefly here,
yeah, go
to
ahead.
kind of keep it on topic. I agree ultimately that perhaps Trump's a bit wishy washy on this, but ultimately he does have to work within the paradigm of the Republican and Democrat Party. He doesn't really have a choice if he's elected. One of the things that stalled his agenda the first time around was that he could not get support from Democrats and Republicans for any of the things he wanted to do, which included his border wall. It included his what it was referred to as the Muslim ban, these kinds of things. He was just simply not able to get the kind of support that he needed to pass a lot of the things that he clearly wanted to fulfill his promises on. So I think in this
Well, let
case,
me
what
let me ask you this
well,
question
I'm
because
almost done, man. I just wanted to say, in this case, I think that ultimately he's trying to fulfill this promise, but he thinks he needs to compromise with the Republicans and Democrats to at least do something about this issue, and he's definitely going to do a lot more about it than Kamala Harris, who's going to move it the other direction.
okay, so let me say this. Um, Donald Trump came into office with the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Donald Trump had the support of Republicans to get massive tax cuts passed. Um, and then 2 years later, that's when they lost control, the type of
Yeah.
control that they had. if he wanted to get certain things done, he had the ability to do so, and he focused on what was important. And the border wall wasn't important. Insulin wasn't important. Infrastructure wasn't important. Those tax cuts were important. Those judges were important. He got all of those things passed. So to say that he didn't have the support, that's not true. And for the most of
Well,
the
hang
time,
on,
the
hang on. When
Democrats
you're
were
talking
in the
about
majority. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
support,
whoa! Hold on,
yeah,
friend.
yeah.
You
Go
gotta
ahead.
let me finish.
Go ahead.
So for the most part, they were able to pass those things that they wanted to pass. They put a focus on, and those things that he campaigned on, that he said he wanted to pass. Not only did he not get those passed, but the Biden Harris administration got a lot of those things passed.
Yeah, but let's keep this in context. First, there was
Mm-hmm.
two very, very phony impeachments going on against Donald Trump that he had to deal with simultaneously while he was trying to pass his agenda in only 4 years. And these were phony, phony impeachments. The initial one, especially, the entirety of Russiagate was just nonsense. But ultimately, he did pass a lot of economic reforms that did lead to a large amount of job growth. It led to lower gas prices. It led to people getting massive bonuses, and it led to companies having a lot of equity so that they could expand. He also was able to keep the interest rate of the Fed very, very low, which was really good to expand the money supply. So in the 2 years he did have the support of the Republicans, he passed a wide array of his economic agenda, which is what people really wanted more than anything else was the idea of the dream of, can we have a family where just one person works? Can we get back to some semblance of, you remember, like, he called Boeing and said, no, Boeing's going to stay. You remember he was working directly with companies. His promise to us was that he was going to keep the jobs here. And clearly he was working on those aims and goals.
Okay, so a lot of that wasn't true, friend. A lot of it wasn't true. From one, Trump has nothing to do with the actual interest rates. The Fed controls the interest rate. He can say that he wants to influence it, but that's not what the president does.
He negotiated directly
Also,
with them.
no, he didn't.
He did. In fact, his chairman came out
He
and explained the negotiations.
Okay, so let me finish my point.
Okay, go ahead.
Jerome Powell control the Fed, not Donald Trump. He is actually even talking about how now he feels like the president should have some type of influence on the Fed. And that's what he said. So no, he didn't do that. You talk about keeping companies or keeping jobs here in America. Well, I mean, with the trade wars that he caused, he lost a lot of major jobs that left America, including Harley Davidson. But
You can't
then
put
you
that on
talk about,
Trump, Harley
yeah,
Davidson.
you can. I
How
mean,
how was he
the actual,
responsible for Harley Davidson?
well, because of his trade wars and then the price of steel going up,
No,
they
that
can no
wasn't what did it.
longer.
He was going to repeal the North America Free Trade Agreement. He did this because
He wasn't gonna appeal
it's
NAFTA. That's not true.
unpopular. It's vastly unpopular with American industry. It was the number one demand he had from American industry was to get
That's
rid of
not true.
this. And well, how else can you compete with
Okay.
China, for
All
instance,
right.
without tariffs? That makes no sense.
One
You
one
can't compete
one
with
second, Andrew.
10-cent labor without tariffs. It can't be
Andrew,
done. Go ahead.
1 second. So I let you get all of your points off. So I'm gonna ask you to just kind of hold off for me for a
Okay,
second.
yeah. He's not going
Um,
to address anything I just said.
Thank you.
Nothing.
I appreciate you. Um, yeah. So
Literally not going to address the fucking thing I just said.
not only was it the trade wars that caused an increased price in steel, and that's why we lost multiple companies that no longer wanted to stay here in the United States. Trump did multiple things to actually harm the overall economics of everyday Americans. So you talked about the actual tax cuts, and you said that he did the tax cuts and it helped with corporate America, and they did blah 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 blah. Most of these major companies did buybacks and dividend payouts to their executives. They didn't reinvest that in their companies. They didn't expand their companies. They didn't do anything along those lines. They just gave that money to the C-level executives. And then even when you talk about the actual tax cuts that were received, the corporations and got a 14% tax cut, where middle class got a 1% tax cut, and that 1% tax cut had a limit on it, which it ends, I think it's this year, but the tax cut that the corporations received is permanent. So there were multiple things that, you said that just wasn't true. And Trump has repeatedly showed that he's not here for the middle class. He's here for big business.
No, I mean, the things I'm saying clearly are true. They did expand equity massively. Tons, millions, millions upon millions of Americans got bonuses. It's true, executives got bonuses as well, but why wouldn't their bonuses be higher? They're the executives. They now have a much greater share to go around because they had a massive tax cut. But to say that millions of Americans didn't get bonuses from that, I got one. For instance, I got a bonus because of that. Tons and tons of people did. But on top of that, the amount of equity that was then put out in the market, it created a job jamboree. I mean, if you couldn't get a job under the Trump administration, you weren't looking, because they were everywhere. Companies were expanding and hyper accelerating their expansion. And you saw this all over, especially the Rust Belt in the Midwest, which is where Trump's real target was. The idea that we could keep the domestic firms local again and we could manufacture local again, that was what people were voting for Trump for. And that's what he was attempting to accomplish by saying, look, there's no possible way that people in Michigan can compete with Chinese labor without us introducing tariffs and things like this and tax cuts for corporations to keep them here domestically so they don't move abroad. The only way that you can compete with the type of wage war you would have from the Chinese paying their hourly workers $1 an hour on average versus the United States, which are unionized, you got to pay them $30-$40 an hour, would be to say to American companies, if you keep it domestic, we're not going to tariff the crap out of it. That was what Trump's goal was.
No.
Yes.
No, Andrew, you're okay. So Andrew, you're being dishonest. You're being super dishonest, my friend. That, like, you've said a lot of things that aren't true.
He just keeps
Starting
repeating
with
that.
the fact that if you couldn't get a job under the Trump administration, then you weren't looking.
You weren't.
Trump left office with a net loss of 3 million jobs.
Yeah, because of COVID. Because of COVID, dude. Be honest. It was because of COVID. Yes, it was 100% because of COVID. That's dishonest, bro.
Hold on. No. Let's see. The shutdown, the panic, COVID pushed more than 22 million people out of work in March. March and April.
Yep.
But then let's see here. Roughly, they only added 7 million new jobs outside of COVID. So, but you can't.
Oh, is that all? Did they only add 7 million new jobs outside of COVID? Is that it?
How many jobs do you think were added under the let's not even say how many jobs were added under the Biden-Harris administration. How many jobs?
Biden inherited Trump's economy, and he had nowhere to go. Let me finish. He had nowhere to go but up. Hang on, he had nowhere to go but up because he was coming directly out of a lockdown.
Trump inherited
Obama's economy sucked, and everybody knows it sucked. He had massive problems with.
Andrew? You're being dishonest, my friend. And I usually don't do this, but
you won't even let me respond.
I'm gonna have to go ahead.
You won't let me respond.
No, I have to go ahead and.
You won't let me respond.
No.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry. That was a lot of misinformation. I normally don't do that, but that was a lot of misinformation. I usually like to let people speak.
What a fucking loser, dude.
And we have a conversation, like a good conversation. And I tried to let him talk because I wanted him to get his points across, and I was going to speak to those points. But that was a lot of misinformation.
Bullshit.
That was really bad. And for you to say that Obama's economy was bad,
it was fucking bad.
It was amazing. No,
it was
George
fucking
Bush
awful, dude.
Economy was bad. Obama's economy was booming.
No.
So there's a huge difference. So
fucking economy
I'm sorry,
sucked.
Andrew. I appreciate you coming up, my friend, but you didn't come up to have a genuine conversation in earnest. You came up because
to wreck your dumb ass, and then you threw me off because you got wrecked.
I'm sorry, I couldn't let you do that.
Yeah, okay, whatever, dude.
Sorry. I'm sorry, chat. Wrecked. Even for people that thought he was, quote unquote cooking or whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. And I wanted to talk to him because he seemed like a pretty decent guy. But man, those were a lot of lies. Like,
Bullshit.
a lot.
Oh, he lost. Oh, look
So,
at all the jobs Trump lost due to
anyway,
fucking the
guys, thank
lockdowns.
you so much. We're up
Unbelievable.
to 66.6 thousand likes.
Unfucking
That's a heck
believable,
of a
this guy,
number.
dude.
Let's
Unbelievable. So yeah, he lost a ton of jobs because the entire fucking country got locked down. So Biden has nowhere to go but up when he gets elected because the lockdowns go away. And so he just pretends, oh, people who got their job back, we added a job. We added a job. It's like, yeah, fuck you, you disingenuous prick. Fuck you, you disingenuous prick. Bullshit.